Is the Rav the Rebbe to learn halakhot הבחירה in maybe in Metzorim. We have the honor today to have a choshev in German from Chshuvei Shluchim in Mונטריאול, the Shliach in Westmount, Rav Chosid, Rav Yosef Shanovitz will come and teach us halakhot in halakhot הבחירה. Rav Shanovitz, bevakasha. Also, everybody should give tzedakah b'tzibur. There's tzedakah all over the tables, please.
The very first halacha in Hilchos Abchira, Rambam writes mitzvahs essay Baruch Hashem. It's a mitzvah essay to build a home for Hashem. Muchin liyos makirim b'kabanis, to be able to place in the Migdash, in the bayis kabanis, v'chaging in olav shalosh pa'amim, and should be able to celebrate 3 times in the year. Shenema, as it says, v'asul li migdash, you should make for me a migdash. The Kesef Mishnah al Asar comments that the very fact that the Torah uses the word migdash and doesn't use the word v'asul li mishkan, although the tzivur was given in a time when we were in the midbar to build a mishkan, teaches us that the mitzvah of building a bayis LaHashem is not for a particular time. It was not just when the Yidden are in the midbar. Rather, this is a mitzvah that's continuous, l'doirei doiris. And with this you understand the hemshech of the Rambam in the following 2 halachas, where the Rambam lays out the timetable of all the mishkans and all the Bati Migdash, whether it was in Gilgal or was in Shiloh or was in Noy, whoever it may be, underscoring the fact that the mitzvah is a mitzvah that is l'doirei doiris, for all times. And even today, if we could, we would build a Beis HaMikdash. And the only reason we don't build a Beis HaMikdash today is because, number one, you don't have Roiv Ha'am living in Eretz Yisrael, although that is something that is changing. Today you have in Eretz Yisrael close to 7 million Yidden, which is almost half of the Yidden. But besides that, we are in a matzav of Tamei Meis. We can't build a Beis HaMikdash. You also need to have first Minei L'Melech. We don't have a king, and as well, the Beis HaMikdash has to be built b'mkoima, in its place, and that the only one who really knows the place is going to be Mashiach. Will tell us exactly where it is that we have to build the Beis HaMikdash. But the Sdei Chemed writes that even though today we don't have the Beis HaMikdash, the closest thing that we could do is to build the Beis HaKnesses. We don't find anywhere in the Torah that there's a mitzvah to build a Beis HaKnesses except for the pasuk v'asul li migdash, and the Gemara says that a Beis HaKnesses is considered to be a migdash me'at, or as the Rebbe many times brings down the Medrash, where the Eibusha says to Yecheskel that just because you don't have a Beis HaMikdash doesn't mean you shouldn't learn about the Beis HaMikdash. Learn about the Beis HaMikdash, and I will count it as if you are building the Beis HaMikdash. There is a question that is asked in the Tzafnas Paneach by the Rogatchover, very much in the Sikha that we just now heard. But the Fakira that the Rogatchover asks is whether the mitzvah of building the Beis HaMikdash, is it about poil or is it about nifa? Meaning, is it about process, or is it about outcome? Is the mitzvah the act of building, or is the mitzvah that there should be a Beis HaMikdash? The building is only a hechsher mitzvah. It's an accessory, but it's not the mitzvah itself. And the chiluk between, the Rogatchover explains, if you say that the mitzvah is the building, the act of building, then it's a one-time mitzvah. You build it and you have the mitzvah. But if you say that the mitzvah is that you have a Beis HaMikdash, then the mitzvah is continuous. it is as long as you have your Beis HaMikdash, you are fulfilling, you're having the mitzvah. So they talk about, Rabbi Chava once met with the Ur Sameach, and he wished Ur Sameach, after 20 years of marriage, he wished him a mazel tov. And Ur Sameach says, I got married 20 years ago, what are you wishing me now mazel tov? And he said, and he explains about being nigla that the mitzvah of getting married is not just getting married, it's being married, and every day that you're married, you're doing a mitzvah. So I'm wishing you mazel tov. So he said back to him, if that's the case, no need to wish me mazel tov, because the mazel tov that you wish me under the chuppah is also continuous. But if you're looking through the lens of a mitzvah and you're looking at the churban habayis, and this is what the Rebbe just was now yelling and screaming, that the churban is so much more devastating because it's not just a one-time churban, but the churban is timidus. What that means is that the world, through the churban, is being deprived of a mitzvah that is continuous. And at every moment that the Beis HaMikdash is not being built, it's ke'ilu charav. And the Rosh Hashanah then says another, the chiluk, whether you say that the mitzvah is on the is a pa'ula or nifal, will be whether women are chayiv in a mitzvah of building the Beis HaMikdash. The Rambam writes later on, the halacha, that the Beis HaMikdash has to be built by day, not by night. Ubiyoim hakim es hamishkan. So if you say that it's that the mitzvah is on the building, then it's a mitzvah saseh shazman garama. Women will be parted from doing the mitzvah. But if you say that the mitzvah is that you have the Beis HaMikdash, having the Beis HaMikdash is 24/7. It's not time bound. The Beis HaMikdash needed to be at night too. There were avodas in the Beis HaMikdash, Yatrum Sadeshen, Hekta Chalovim. So, if the mitzvah is that you have the Beis HaMikdash, then women are going to be chayiv because it's continuous. So the Rabbi Shava says that the fact that the Rambam paskins that Noshim are chayiv in the mitzvah teaches us that the mitzvah is about nifa, it's about having, not just about building. And then the Rabbi Shava brings another raya from Gemara Yevamis. The Gemara says, Gemara establishes that on Shabbos you can't build the Beis HaMikdash. Because the pasuk says, Es shabsoisai tishmoru v'mikdashi tira'u kulam chayavim b'chvoidi. In other words, Shabbos has to come first, nothing overrides Shabbos. So l'chayda, Gemara asks the Shaila, why not? The building of the Mishkan is a mitzvah's essay. Shabbos is a mitzvah's lois essay. Don't we have a klal that an essay is leicha lois essay? Or you're going to prove from here that essay is not leicha lois essay? And the Gemara answers, no, here it's different. Why? The building of the Mishkan is not an essay, it's a hechshem mitzvah. Now, different ways of understanding Gemara, but that the Rosh Hashanah takes it kipshuti. It's a hechshem mitzvah. It means a raya that the building is not a mitzvah itself, and that's why it's not doicha delois say from Shabbos. So these are the proofs that the Rosh Hashanah brings that the mitzvah is about nifal, not about koyel. We understand many Maimori Chazal on the pasuk Migdash Hashem Koinu Yedacha, that there's a Beis HaMikdash waiting Milamayla to come downstairs on the Har HaBayis. It's waiting, Koinu Yedacha. Mashiach is going to come, and the Beis HaMikdash is just going to come down, descend right on to the Har HaBayis. But 1 second, if that's what's going to happen, what's going to be with the mitzvah of building the Beis HaMikdash? Are we losing out on that mitzvah? Are we being deprived from building a Beis HaMikdash? But now that we say that the mitzvah is not poyo, but it's about nifal, it's not that you should build it. Rather, it's that you should have it. Doesn't matter how it comes. Main thing is you have it. You have the mitzvah. Interesting is that the Rambam, right, in Soif Hilchos Malachim, the Rambam paskins that Mashiach is going to build a Beis HaMikdash. He says that Mashiach is going to bring Malchus David, he's going to restore the Malchus Beis David. Uboyne Migdash Mimkaime, he's going to build a Beis HaMikdash. Kabetz Nitzvah Yisrael. So the Rambam is emphasizing that the binyan Beis Hamikdash is going to happen through Mashiach, and it's not coming down milmayla. But we've just established that according to the Rambam, the mitzvah is about nifal, not about poyel. So the truth is that when the Rambam says that Mashiach is going to build, it's not because the mitzvah requires it. It's not because of the mitzvah, because the mitzvah doesn't need you to build it, as we said before. Rather, and this is what the Rebbe explains, is that according to the Rambam, the reason why Mashiach has to build it, has to come through the people, because that is what reflects the matara, the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash. There's a machlokes between the Rambam and Ramban. What is the purpose, the objective of the Beis Hamikdash? According to the Ramban, the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash is that the Shechina should come down. It's all about the Shechina. It's all about the Shechina coming down. It's the Mayla Lamata. According to the Rambam, what is the purpose of the Beis Hamikdash? The Rambam says very clearly. He says in the same halacha, in the first halacha, Mitzvah Saseh Laseh Beis Hashem, Liyos Makrivim By Kavanis. The whole purpose of the Beis Hamikdash is that we should reach out. It's for us to bring Karbanis to the Eibishter. It's Milmata Lamayla. And that's why, according to the Rambam, the mitzvah of building a Beis Hamikdash, it's not enough that you're building a Beis Hamikdash. The Beis Hamikdash has to be furnished. According to the Rambam, if you don't have the kelim in the Beis Hamikdash, Rambam writes it very clearly in the Sefer HaMitzvahs. If you don't have the shulchan, if you don't have the menorah, if you don't have the mizbeach, if you're lacking the kelim of the Beis Hamikdash, you have not fulfilled the mitzvah. According to Rambam makes it very clear that the kelim is separate from the mitzvah. Even if you don't have the kelim, you build the structure, the Beis Hamikdash, and you have the mitzvah. According to the Rambam, you must have all of the kelim. Why? Because according to the Rambam, the whole objective of the Beis Hamikdash is that there should be the malmata l'mayla, that we should be able to reach out to the Eibishter, and for that we need to have the kelim. And that's why, according to the Rambam, the building of the Beis Hamikdash has to reflect that matara, and it has to come from Mashiach himself, and it can't be something that comes down milamayla lamata. The same that the Rebbe says, when it comes to the practice of the Beis Hamikdash that each and every one of us builds, whether it's the shul that we said before, whether it's the Seich Kol Echad Be'echad in our homes, making our home into Beis Hamikdash. That's not enough that our homes become a place, a makim of Torah, of avodah, and gemilas chasadim, but there has to also be the kelim for it. Which means svarim need to have a shafa. You have to build shafas to put the svarim in. A siddur needs to have a table. Make sure you have a table. Tzedakah needs to have a pushka. You have to mount the pushka into the house. You have to have the kelim. But each and every one of us building our prati sticker Mishkan Beis Hamikdash, and to give us the Bayis Shlishi collective Beis Hamikdash. Let it be L'mayla Lamata, we'll take it however it's going to be given to us. The Ikeh, that should be the end of Golus, and we should see Kol Mamish Mashiach Tzidkenu V'hu Yigalinu.
Amen. Just to remind everybody that in Mitzvah Hashem following Tilas Arvis, there will be a Siyum Meseches, and also everybody should